Hi students, welcome back. We are going to continue looking at our shapes today, and we are going to be talking about triangles. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go over the different types of triangles and how to name them. Some of this might be review. You might remember some of those names, but some of this might be new to you. So it's really important to notice that when we're naming a triangle always has two names. So I like to think of it like we usually have two names, and we're writing our name on our paper. We need to make sure we always put both names in there. Same thing with a triangle. We always need to give it both of its names. We're going to name it first by its angles and second by its sides. So when we're looking at the angles, we have a couple different things that could happen. We could have a triangle where all three angles are acute. And we'll remember that the word acute means very small. So if we're looking at all of these angles here, we can see that all three of them, this angle here, this angle here, this angle here, they all are small. They're all less than 90 degrees. So we would call that an acute triangle. The next name that we could give a triangle would be obtuse. Obtuse would be when one of the angles is larger than 90 degrees. So we can see this angle right up here that I've colored in red. That's a large obtuse angle. It's more than 90 degrees. So we would call that an obtuse triangle. A right triangle is where we have a triangle that has exactly one right angle. So right here we can see that little red square in the corner, and that indicates 90 degrees. So that would be called a right triangle. And then finally, a triangle could have all three angles the same, and we would call that equal angular. That might be one you've never heard before. Equal angular, meaning all the angles are equal. So we first name it by its angles. Then we're going to look at the name of its sides. So if it is scalene, that means all three sides are different lengths. So this side is a different length than this side over here, and that's a different length than this side down here. So all three sides are different. In isosceles, an isosceles triangle has two sides that are the same. So these little red lines here, those are telling us that this side and this side are the same length. And then finally, we could have equal lateral. That one I'm sure you've heard, and that means all three sides are the same. So we're going to practice looking at some triangles and just naming it based on its sides. So let's take a look at some triangles together here. Okay, so we have two triangles. Let's look at triangle A. The first thing that I notice about triangle A is this angle right here is 115. So naming it according to its angle, that's an obtuse angle. So this is what we would call an obtuse triangle. So that's according to its angles. Next, I want to name it by its sides. Now, there's no markings on the side. If there's no markings, that means none of them are the same. They're all different. So we would call that scalene, since all of the sides are different. So this is an obtuse scalene triangle. All right, let's look at the green triangle, triangle B. And so there's a couple things that I'm noticing about triangle B. The first thing I'm noticing is that it's got these little arcs in the corner of the angles. Those arcs are telling us that the angles are the same measure. So we have two angles that are the same measure. We also see marks on the sides here, and that tells us that two of the sides are the same. So when two of the sides are the same, we would say it is isosceles. Now we're looking at the angles, and it doesn't give us any angle measures, but right off the bat, I hope that you're noticing that if you were looking at those, a right angle would be like the corner of a piece of paper. And all of these appear to be smaller than a corner. So these are acute. So this is an acute isosceles triangle. Okay, so today we're going to practice just naming triangles based upon their angles and based upon their sides. That's the two things that we're going to focus on today.